Chapter 23:11. Not qualified to cooperate and only fit to be a pawn? As soon as he said that, not to mention the bad-tempered Hata Miwa and the rest, even Chana was looking at Dustless angrily. This was blatant contempt and a slap in the face. Don't be too arrogant. Zhou Fengzuan's expression changed drastically. He thought that he was arrogant enough, but compared to Dustless, what was he in the past? He was simply too gentle. It could even be called the means of a sheep. This was what it meant to be arrogant. Even the king wasn't qualified to cooperate. His value was limited to being used. Still not convinced? I just beat you up. How long has it been? Have you forgotten the scars? Zhou Fengzuan. Dustless looked at them with ridicule. Alright, tell me about your plan. Hearing that, Zhou Fengzuan opened his mouth. Looking at Dustless's provocative eyes, he finally shut his mouth. Strength determined everything. Previously, they were all beaten up by Dustless. Since they were weaker than him, what qualifications did they have to talk about cooperation? Just like how the king could cooperate with ordinary humans? Without a doubt, it was impossible. The difference in strength was too great. It's not really a plan. I was just bored and thought about it a little. Dustless had his hands in his pockets. His tone was very calm. His eyes were focused on Zhou Fengzuan. And you might really die. Lord. Hearing that, the members of Bark Willow looked at Zhou Fengzuan worriedly. Among them, Kusanagi Jiyun said in a deep voice, anyway, King Colorless will come out sooner or later. There's no need to take the risk. Lord, you should understand that without you, Bark Willow would lose its spiritual symbol. Bark Willow would also become a fish that could whet the appetite of others. Anyone could take a bite out of us. You can't agree, Lord. Chana tugged at Zhou Fengzuan's clothes nervously. She looked at Dustless with a look of disdain and disdain. What's with that look? I'm not a big bad wolf. Besides, I didn't force him. Dustless felt wronged and couldn't help but scold her. You should agree, right? Dustless ignored the crowd and looked straight at Zhou Fengzuan. Although I don't know you very well, everyone knows your character. Sometimes, you don't care about losing your life for revenge. Don't tell me you can read my mind. Zhou Fengzuan glanced at Dustless and then closed his eyes, as if he was making a final decision. Tell me your plan. After taking a deep breath, Zhou Fengzuan finally agreed to Dustless's request. Just as Dustless had said, for the sake of revenge, he didn't care even if he had to sacrifice his own life. It can't be considered a meticulous plan. It's just a crude strategy that I came up with in my spare time. It's not worth mentioning. Dustless put his hands in his pockets and said calmly, the formless king is very weak. Without absolute confidence, he won't come out. So, we can only bait him. TCH, I thought it was some kind of plan. Kusanagi Izumo curled her lips in disdain. The formless king isn't an idiot. Why would he take the initiative to come out? He can't deal with Fengzuan's strength. Hee, that's why I need your king to cooperate with me. Dustless laughed sinisterly. Everyone felt their hair stand on end. The members of Wulua felt that this guy in front of them was a demon in human skin. Compared to him, the formless king was just a clown. Just say it, Zhou Fengzuan said firmly without blinking his eyes. It's very simple. Just like what that yellow-haired guy said. Dustless pointed at Kusanagi Izumo and said calmly, if you were at your peak, the formless king wouldn't dare to come out and find trouble with you. So, Dustless paused for a moment. His eyes narrowed slightly like a cunning old fox. I'll severely injure you. It'll be best if you're on the verge of death. That guy, the formless king, will definitely come out. This was the situation in the original work. The formless king racked his brains to provoke the battle between Zhou Fengzuan and the Ancestral Rites Division. His goal was for both of them to be injured. Then, he would seize the opportunity to seize the body. Although the formless king could devour other people's consciousness, even a strong-willed person like Zhou Fengzuan couldn't do anything about it. Therefore, he racked his brains to provoke the battle between the King of Red and the King of Blue. He wanted to wait until both of them were injured to come out and take over their bodies. When a person was injured, all aspects of their physical fitness would decline. The same applied to their willpower. However, it would have been better if Dustless hadn't said anything. The moment he finished speaking, the members of Wuluo looked at him angrily. Was this a plan? It was simply pushing Zhou Fengzuan into a fire pit. You call this a plan? It's obviously a rotten idea. Kusanagi Izumo looked at Dustless unkindly. He gritted his teeth and looked like he wanted to swallow Dustless whole. He suspected that this was a deliberate revenge. Rotten ideas are often the most effective, Dustless retorted. Why don't you take the risk yourself? Channa looked at Dustless motionlessly. Although her strength was average, her brain worked quite fast. Compared to Zun, your strength is stronger and your ability is more strange. Using you as bait is definitely more suitable than Zun. That's right. All the members of Wuluo nodded. Dustless was obviously more tempting. Sorry, although I also want to be bait, I can't allow someone weaker than me to seriously injure me. More importantly, I'm afraid of pain, Dustless said as if he was joking, but also as if he was serious at the same time. You. The members of Wuluo gritted their teeth in anger. This guy was really unmoved by force or persuasion. Enough, this is originally our Wuluo's matter. Zhou Fengzuan suddenly scolded. The others fell silent. At the end of the day, Wuluo wanted to eliminate King Colorless. Why should Dustless be the bait? No one would agree to this kind of thing. I agree. Staring at Dustless, Zhou Fengzuan didn't hesitate at all. As expected of a king, he was straightforward and direct. P.S. 3,000 fresh flowers plus updates, 3,000 rewards plus updates, 1,000 comments plus updates, 500 automatic subscriptions plus updates. Chapter 23:12. You guys don't have to worry. Seeing the members of Bark Dance Club glaring at him in anger, it was as if they wanted to beat Dustless to the ground to vent their anger. That's easy to say. You're not the one who died. If Venerable One. Humph, this is all your fault. Sinming Anna was full of complaints. She couldn't wait to die together with Dustless. Little girl, you're so young. Why are you so mature? A child like you should focus on studying instead of learning how to fall in love with those senseless youngsters. Wu Chen said frankly. It would have been better if he didn't say anything. His words immediately attracted Sinming Anna's firepower. She looked at him angrily. You, don't tell me that I only treat Honored as an older brother. Really, why do you always misunderstand me? I didn't say that I had to severely injure him. Dustless sighed and explained slowly, we just have to pretend that we're in a big battle and pretend that we're injured. That's more like it. Hearing this, the members of Bark Dance Club were relieved. If Zhou Fengzuan was seriously injured and the King of Colorless took over his body, wouldn't that be terrible? Let's begin. Zhou Fengzuan was a man of few words. He didn't want to waste time talking nonsense. His eyes turned cold. Powerful flames erupted from his body and he immediately pounced over. He lost to Dustless in the previous battle. He wasn't satisfied and wanted to try again. You're overestimating yourself. Dustless also understood Zhou Fengzuan's thoughts. He immediately stepped forward and threw out a seemingly weak punch. Boom! 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 The curtains of a great battle that had turned from a farce into a reality had suddenly been raised. In the evening, Dustless had already returned home. As for Zhou Fengzuan, he was lying in the hospital. No matter how hard he tried, his strength couldn't shake Dustless. Dinner was still ordered takeout. Dustless didn't lack money and could eat all kinds of good food. Purr. Purr. On the dining table, the cat swept up all kinds of delicacies. Whatever was in its mouth, in the pot, and even Dustless's portion was swept clean. This guy must have been the reincarnation of a hungry ghost in his past life. Dustless looked at the cat, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. When he was about to taste the sashimi, the cat spoke while eating. "By the way, that white-haired guy came looking for you," the cat suddenly said, which made Dustless frown. "A white-haired guy?" Dustless lowered his head and thought for a moment before asking without hesitation, "Could it be the Izona Society?" "No, the Silver King?" "That's him." The cat nodded. "There's also a young man with long hair. If I remember correctly, his name is Go Lang." "The two of them?" Dustless stopped the sashimi that was about to be stuffed into his mouth. In a split second, the sashimi was snatched away by the cat. The cat's speed dazzled Dustless and caught him off guard. "You greedy cat." Dustless sighed faintly, leaned back on the sofa, and asked, "Let me guess why they're here." "They're probably here to talk about cooperation again. They want to work together to deal with the colorless king. I rejected them last time, and this guy came looking for me again. He has no awareness at all." It was not that Dustless did not want to cooperate, but that there was no need to. "It's not a matter of cooperation." The cat tilted its head and immediately recalled what happened before. It said, "The two of them are very strange. They kept asking me about your background." "My background?" Hearing that, Dustless was somewhat surprised, but he was not surprised. He asked again, "What did they ask?" "About my identity?" "Maybe it's not just the two of them. Everyone else is very curious." After all, Dustless was not a king, but his strength was almost overwhelming. Who would not find it strange? "And there are others who came." The cat continued, "It's the group in blue." "What's their name again?" "I think it's the Ancestral Right Division." "Him?" Dustless's gaze suddenly focused on the cat. He asked curiously, "That guy came? Is he also asking about my background?" In his mind, he suddenly remembered a wise man wearing glasses. Dustless's mind became active. He did not think that the Ancestral Right Division would curry favor with him. On the contrary, the two of them had a lot of grudges. Last time, he defeated the Ancestral Right Division and made this guy lose face. Although there were no more conflicts after that, there was no doubt that Dustless made a king lose face. If he could endure being slapped in the face, he would not be a king. They don't come with good intentions. Dustless said softly, "Although I don't think the Ancestral Right Division will do anything despicable, you'd better be careful." "By the way, other than asking about my whereabouts, did he ask anything else?" Dustless asked. It was strange that there were no traces of Scepter 4 in the past few days. It was as if he had disappeared from the face of the earth. "This." The cat tilted his head and thought carefully. At that time, he was quite scary. He gave off a very deep feeling. "That's interesting. It seems like something happened." Hearing this, Wu Chen smiled with interest. As everyone knew, the Ancestral Right Division was a person who paid great attention to etiquette and his image. Not to mention when he was angry, even when talking to the enemy, he would speak politely. The only person who could make the Ancestral Right Division angry was Dustless. Now that this guy was angry again, Dustless could not help but gloat. "What does it have to do with you?" the cat asked worriedly. "Let me tell you, that guy is really angry. Maybe if it weren't for you, he would have already taken me away." After saying this, the cat showed a frightened expression. "I'm innocent," Dustless said briefly and made a guess out of boredom. "But according to my opinion, there's an 80% chance that something unexpected happened. The Ancestral Right Division was very angry when they couldn't find the culprit. They investigated all the enemies, including me. Needless to say, this time he guessed right. The Ancestral Right Division really did encounter something bad. He hadn't slept for several days and his eyes were bloodshot. P.S. 3,000 flowers plus updates, 3,000 rewards plus updates, 1,000 reviews plus updates, 500 automatic subscriptions plus updates." Chapter 23:13. In Scepter 4's base, all the members looked nervous and did not look too good. For the past few days, their boss, the Ancestral Right Division, had been acting like he had eaten gunpowder. He kept throwing tantrums for no reason, causing everyone to complain incessantly. Sometimes, they would be scolded for no reason, but they couldn't refute. They could only bow and admit their mistakes. It was really frustrating. Fu Jian. Have you found her? In the office of the CEO, the Ancestral Right Division was looking at the tall buildings in the distance. He was in a trance, and his face looked haggard. In the past, he gave people the impression that he was full of energy and vigor. Now, he looked like a prisoner who had quit drugs. His whole body was bald and listless. Not yet. The young man called Fu Jian lowered his head in shame. I'm sorry, CEO. It's all because of my incompetence that Miss Adashima went missing. Just 2 days ago, the second in command of Sector 4, Adashima Shirley, suddenly disappeared without a trace. No one knew where she went, and no one knew where she went. They couldn't contact her anymore. This made the members of Sector 4 very anxious. The Ancestral Right Division immediately suspected that it was done by some enemy, so he went to ask Dustless and the others. However, he didn't get any answers. He was indescribably depressed and anxious. Don't blame yourself too much. This has nothing to do with you. Order your men, even if you have to turn the city upside down, you have to find Shirley. Even if she's dead, you have to find her body. The Ancestral Right Division's tone was full of murderous intent. The reason why the members of Sector 4 had disappeared these days was because they were all searching for Adashima Shirley. That was why Dustless didn't see the man in blue. CEO, there are some things that I don't know if I should say. Fu Jian looked hesitant. His lips trembled slightly, as if there was something that he couldn't say. If you have something to say, then say it. There are no outsiders here. The Ancestral Right Division looked at Fu Jian with hope. He sincerely hoped that he would say something valuable. Adashima Shirley's sudden disappearance was a huge blow to the Ancestral Right Division. After all, she was his right-hand woman. He couldn't afford to lose her. Miss Dama would not disappear for no reason. In my opinion, she must have been taken away by someone. Fu Jianyugu secretly glanced at the Ancestral Statue Rights Division and saw that he also had a deep expression on his face. Only then did he heave a sigh of relief and continue, Miss Danjima is not weak. The person who can capture her without her knowing is probably a king. Your analysis is reasonable. Fu Jian, I didn't expect your thinking to become more and more mature. In the future, you will be able to help me solve my problems. The Ancestral Statue Rights Division smiled gently and was very satisfied with Fu Jian. Actually, his face suddenly paled, and he said helplessly, to tell you the truth, I thought so too. That's why I went to find Dustless, but he wasn't home at the time. Then, in your opinion, it was Dustless who kidnapped Miss Danjima? Fu Baigu saw the coldness in Yuan Bigu's eyes, and his tone suddenly became hostile. It's hard to say. Hearing this, the Ancestral Statue Rights Division didn't know how to answer. He could only say what he thought. I don't think Dustless would do such a thing. He kidnapped Danjima just to threaten me. But Dustless doesn't need to threaten me. He is stronger than me. Why would he threaten me? If he wanted to, he could have just taken it openly. I can't stop him anyway. There's no need to do such a thing. That's true. Fu Jianyugu nodded deeply. If he was Dustless, he would directly choose to come to their door. Why would it be so troublesome? Dong dong dong. At this moment, a hurried knocking sound came from the door. Both of them furrowed their brows without leaving a trace. Come in. The Ancestral Statue Rights Division said in a deep voice. Chief, someone has sent you a letter. The person who came in said as he handed a wrapped envelope to the Ancestral Statue Rights Division. Envelope? Hearing this, the Ancestral Statue Rights Division frowned. Who would be so troublesome to send a letter? Open it and take a look. The Ancestral Statue Rights Division tore open the envelope. There was no so-called content, just a few simple photos. This is, bastard. Who did this? The Ancestral Statue Rights Division was instantly furious. The photo that came into view was of Danji Mashiri, who was tied up. She looked embarrassed, as if she hadn't eaten for a long time. Her face was as pale as paper. Who did this? Fu Jianyugu was also furious. Could it be the group of people from the Red King? Everyone hasn't been harmonious all this time. Ding ding ding, at the same time, the phone on the table suddenly rang. The frustrated Ancestral Statue Rights Division was about to hang up, but the moment he picked up the phone, he couldn't relax. Have you seen the photo? Do you want this lady to live? A simple sentence seemed to be filled with magic. The Ancestral Statue Rights Division's face suddenly changed. Who the hell are you? You'd better ensure her safety. Otherwise, I'll tear you into pieces even if I have to destroy this country. The Ancestral Statue Rights Division's face turned red, and his ferocious eyes made people shudder. Fu Jianyugu was also shocked. In his memory, this was the first time the leader was so angry. Hee. My request is very simple. Bring San Anna's head to me. Otherwise, this woman is dead for sure. After that, the mysterious man hung up the den mushi. If Dustless was here, he would be able to recognize this strange voice. In fact, it was Colorless himself. He did this to provoke a war between the Red King and the Blue King, and then he would benefit from it. P.S. 3,000 flowers plus updates, 3,000 rewards plus updates, 1,000 comments plus updates, 500 automatic subscriptions plus updates. Chapter 23:14. In the original work, the Colorless King provoked the two kings to fight, hoping that they would both be injured. Then, he would have a chance to make his move. However, due to Dustless's interference, some of the Colorless King's plans had failed, so he could only use other schemes. Although the King of Colorless strength was average and he was the weakest among the kings, he was smart. Even though Dustless had exposed his scheme, he quickly found another plan, which was to capture Dan Shirley alive and threaten the King of Blue to kill Chomana. If he didn't do so, he would kill the hostage. Danishima Shirley was the right-hand man of the King of Blue, and he couldn't afford to lose him. However, Semoyne Anna was also the King of Red's favorite, and he couldn't afford to lose her. Once the Ancestral Rights Division killed Semoyne Anna, both sides would fight to the death. One of them had to disappear from the world. Crack. The Ancestral Rights Division crushed the phone, and his elegant face turned ferocious. Damn Colorless King, you better not fall into my hands. If I catch you, I will make you regret living in this world, regret being a king, and regret threatening my Ancestral Rights Division. The Ancestral Rights Division was like a furious lion. His hair stood on end, and his body emitted destructive waves. The surrounding windows were shattered, and even Fujian Yubigu, who was caught off guard, was sent flying. Leader, what should we do? Fujian Yubigu struggled to get up. His eyes were flickering, and he seemed to be in a dilemma. The Colorless King's actions were to force the Ancestral Rights Division and Zhou Fengzuan to go to war. You can leave first, let me think. The Ancestral Right Division sucked in a breath of cold air. They were also at a loss. There was no shortcut to this situation. If they didn't kill Haname Anna, then Tadajima Shiri would definitely die. If they didn't do anything, then Tadajima Shiri would be killed. No matter what, this was a dead end. No wonder the Ancestral Rights Division was in such a dilemma. Fujian, after about an hour, the Ancestral Rights Division finally spoke. Bring everyone to Fei Wulua's territory. Zhou Fengzuan and the Ancestral Rights Division were about to go to war. On the other hand, Dustless was still lazy. Because it was the weekend, he even brought his cat to the beach for a vacation. Life was as pleasant as it could get. Hey. Dustless, hurry up and help me apply sunscreen. I don't want to get tanned. The cat looked at Dustless, who was lying down comfortably, and suddenly said. Looking up, the cat was wearing a pink swimsuit. Her nosebleed figure was extremely eye-catching, especially her cleavage, which swayed as she walked, as if it could burst her swimsuit at any time. However, no one appreciated this fanciful scene. Dustless was lying there calmly, as if he had fallen asleep. He did not look at the cat at all. Since he was not short of money, he simply booked a private sea area. The huge beach only had Dustless and the cat. It was very quiet and deserted. "Little girl, do this kind of thing yourself. Don't bother me." Dustless waved his hand casually. "Also, don't find a man you're not familiar with to apply sunscreen for you. Some contact can't be avoided. You have to understand." Bang. A black shadow fell from the sky and landed heavily on Dustless's stomach. He almost spat out a mouthful of blood. F***ck. Dustless quickly opened his eyes and almost stopped breathing. He threw away his sunglasses and looked at the cat sitting on his body. He scolded, "You need to lose weight." Looking at the cat, Dustless felt for the first time in his life that it was not a good thing for a girl to be too voluptuous. "I asked you to apply sunscreen for me. How dare you refuse me?" The cat's eyes were spitting fire. She grabbed Dustless's collar. "Do you understand that this is a very rude thing to do?" "I don't understand." Dustless rolled his eyes and said snappily, "But one thing is for sure. You're treating me like a servant. After so many years, you're the first one." "Humph, I asked you to apply sunscreen because I think highly of you." The cat snorted, as if he should be grateful. "Is that so? Then I'm really flattered." Dustless sighed and immediately took the sunscreen. "Lie down. At least you know what's good for you." The cat's pouting mouth disappeared. She suddenly smiled and lay down in front of Dustless like a fairy. Little girls nowadays don't know how to guard against wolves. "If it wasn't for my good conduct, you little girl would have been eaten up and not even your bones would be left." While Wu Chen was applying sunscreen to the cat, he kept complaining. He had to say that the cat's skin was really good. It was unusually delicate and elastic to the touch. It was as smooth as jelly. After the sunscreen was applied, the cat's skin was sparkling under the sunshine. Ding! A cool and light feeling spread throughout the cat's body. The cat let out a satisfied moan. She was very lazy, as if she was floating in the clouds. She was lying down and enjoying quietly, very happy. If it was an ordinary person, they would probably have already transformed into a wolf at this moment. Instead, Dustless was calm and unmoved. For close to 1,000 years, he had experienced too many matters of love. What did this count as? "By the way, I have something to ask you." The cat suddenly turned her head to look at Dustless. She saw that this guy was serious and didn't have any bad intentions. Her heart was empty and she was a little disappointed. It's so strange. Didn't the TV say that when doing this, the man's heart would beat faster and his face would turn red? And then do some. The cat seemed to have thought of something that was difficult to say. Her face turned red. "Say it." Dustless didn't even look at the cat. His voice was very cold. "You're a blockhead." Hearing that indifferent tone, the cat was angry. She suddenly raised her leg and kicked Dustless. But the next second, she screamed. "P.S. 3,000 flowers plus updates, 3,000 rewards plus updates, 1,000 comments plus updates, 500 automatic subscriptions plus updates." Chapter 23:15. Pung. The jade-like foot that was kicking over was easily caught by Wu Chen. He deliberately scratched the soles of the cat's feet. It was so ticklish that she felt uncomfortable all over. "Let go of me, bad guy. I know I was wrong. Let go of me, bad guy." The cat quickly rolled over. Although she said she knew she was wrong, she didn't regret it at all. Her other foot continued to attack Dustless. "You dare to kick me, and dare to call me a bad guy. You asked for it." Dustless suddenly felt playful. He had been bored for a long time, and now was a good opportunity to release it. He didn't hesitate to use the shadow clone to suppress the cat's arms. Dustless sat on the cat's body without any mercy. "Little girl, how do you think I should punish you?" Dustless looked at the cat, who was laughing non-stop. His words were full of ridicule. You bad guy, don't fall into my hands. Otherwise, I will pay you back 100 times. The cat was trembling with anger. Her breasts were moving up and down as if she wanted to break out of her clothes. "You still dare to threaten me now?" Dustless couldn't help but be speechless. This little girl didn't have any awareness of being a captive. She bared her teeth as if she wanted to swallow him. "Forget it." Dustless waved his hand. He was too lazy to make things difficult for this little girl. The shadow clone also disappeared. Hey. Why don't you play anymore?" The shadow clone suddenly disappeared. The cat didn't retaliate as expected. Instead, she looked extremely angry. Her angry look seemed to be asking Dustless why he didn't play with her anymore. Damn, this little girl can't have a special hobby of being abused, right? Looking at the cute angry look of the cat, her delicate little face puffed up. Her eyes were full of resentment. Those who didn't know might think that Dustless abandoned her. Cough. Right, you said you have something to say. What is it? Tell me. Dustless awkwardly coughed twice and quickly changed the topic. He said very generously, "If you want to know, I will definitely not hide it." Really? The cat's IQ was definitely not as high as a veteran like Dustless. She was instantly fooled and forgot the previous topic. She asked, "Is there no other way to teach the King of Colorless a lesson? That fellow is too sinister. He always likes to attach himself to other people's bodies. You can't just keep waiting for him to take the bait. So it's this stupid question." Upon hearing this, Dustless's interest disappeared. He pursed his lips and looked at the cat. "I think you're afraid that he'll possess your body, right? I'm doing this for your sake, and you still dare to not appreciate it? If I am possessed, the first unlucky person will be you." The cat raised her delicate fist, wanting to hit Dustless. Like I said, there are countless ways to deal with King Colorless. Dustless's tone was calm and full of confidence. He said calmly, "Do you know who the first king was?" "Of course I do. Don't underestimate me." The cat tilted her head and answered without hesitation. "It's the Silver King, Adolf K. Weitzman, that white-haired gigolo." Gigolo? Upon hearing this, Dustless's mouth twitched. He had always called the Silver King a gigolo. Unknowingly, he had led the cat astray. "It's indeed him." Dustless nodded and smiled mysteriously. "He's the origin of kings, the first king in the world. He's also the first to obtain the king's power." "Then, do you know where the king's power comes from?" "I don't know." The cat was confused. "It's not strange that you don't know. After all, this kind of thing involves a lot of secrets. The more you know, the more troublesome it will be. Isn't there a saying that the more you know, the faster you'll die?" Dustless said with a chuckle. It was this sentence that scared the cat so much that her expression changed. "Then you'd better not tell me. I don't want to die. I still want to eat a lot of good food." The cat's face was filled with fear, as if she was really scared. "You're really **ket up. Sometimes I really don't understand. You're not afraid of me at all, but you're so scared of those stupid things. Is my deterrence less than their king's?" Wu Chen was extremely speechless and ridiculed. There were a million alpacas galloping in his heart. Was he too weak? What was a king? "Because you won't hurt me." Blinking her eyes, the cat looked at Dustless seriously. "You little girl," Dustless rubbed the cat's head. She immediately lay in his arms obediently. Dustless didn't reject this. He stroked her hair gently and explained, "The king's power comes from the Drexton stone plate. This is the source of all the king's power, a Drexton stone plate." Hearing this, the cat was stunned. She stared at Dustless with her mouth wide open. She didn't expect the king's power to come from an ordinary-looking Drexton stone plate. It sounded like a fairy tale. Are you surprised? Dustless looked at the doubtful cat and said, "It's not just the king's power. Your power, and even the power of all outsiders, comes from that Drexton stone plate. There's actually such a miraculous thing in this world?" The cat's expression was shocked. It was unbelievable that a Drexton stone plate could have such power. There are all kinds of strange things in this world. This is nothing. I've seen things that are even more heaven-defying than the Drexton stone plate. Dustless calmly replied. In these thousands of years, he had seen all kinds of unimaginable things. Don't think that the King of Colorless is playing like a fish in water now. Once my patience runs out, he'll be finished. The easiest way is to destroy the Drexton stone plate. That way, all the king's power will disappear. Let's see how he can continue to show off then. Dustless sneered. It was too easy to deal with the King of Colorless. This was only one of many methods. There were actually many similar methods. P.S. 3,000 flowers plus updates, 3,000 rewards plus updates, 1,000 reviews plus updates, 500 automatic subscriptions plus updates. Chapter 23:16. However, this method was too thorough. All the kings and the powers of those outside their authority would disappear. In other words, even Cat would not be able to escape this fate. Staring at the girl with different expressions, Dustless finally shook his head. He couldn't bear to take away Cat's power. After all, there were too many ways to kill the colorless king. It's good that you can deal with him. This way, I won't have to worry. Cat's pretty face bloomed with a charming smile as she rubbed against Dustless's chest. You little girl, you're not taking advantage of me, are you? Sensing the abnormality in his body, Dustless scratched her nose in annoyance. His face revealed a deeply conflicted expression, as if he had suffered a great loss. Of course not. Cat's pretty face instantly filled with a sickly blush as she hurriedly curled into a ball. Dustless could even feel her heartbeat accelerating. You're still denying it? I heard it all. Ding ding, at this delicate moment, Dustless's phone suddenly rang. The number was extremely strange. It was actually Zhou Fengzuan's underling, Hadamiko. This kid is actually looking for me? How rare. Dustless's expression was indescribably strange. He couldn't help but look at the sun. It didn't seem to be coming out from the north. Something bad has happened. Mr. Zun and the people in blue are fighting. Hadamiko's anxious voice came from the other end of the phone. He could also hear rumbling sounds. Even though he wasn't there, Dustless could guess that an intense battle was going on. They're fighting? Dustless frowned deeply, rather puzzled. These two didn't seem to have any direct grudges. Although the two kings' organizations had deep grudges and often fought with each other, the direct conflicts between Zhou Fengzuan and the Ancestral Right Department could be counted on one hand. Let's go take a look. Looking down, Silver decided to end his vacation for the time being and rush over to take a look himself. At this moment, Fu Wulua's territory had long been reduced to ruins. Charred buildings could be seen everywhere, and the air was filled with an unbearable foreign smell. Damn it, monkey, what do you mean by wearing blue clothes? At a glance, the members of Fei Wulua and the clan of the King of Black were engaged in a battle. They were completely serious, and some of them even had white knives entering and red knives exiting. What do you mean? I haven't seen you for a few days and your IQ is getting lower and lower, Mimi. Fujiwara Arubigu smiled sinisterly, and then slashed his sword at Hadamiko. Of course, it's to destroy you Wulua bastards. Clang. As the sword fell, sparks flew in all directions, and Fu Jian's arm went numb from the shock. Why are you here? The moment he looked up, Fujikiyaku's eyes froze. The person standing in front of him was neither Hadamiko nor Zhou Fengzuan. It had nothing to do with the members of Vega Wullo. This is a grudge between us and the Red King's clan. It has nothing to do with you. Get out of the way. Fu Jian looked at the young man who was causing trouble with an unfriendly expression. This person actually used 2 fingers to catch his full-strength attack. Even if he used all the strength in his body, he still couldn't pull out the sword that was caught between his fingers. You dare to talk to me like that? Dustless's eyes flashed with a hint of mockery, and he laughed. It seems that you have become stronger. Boom. 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 On the other side, Zhou Fengzuan and Zhong Xiang Rights were engaged in a fierce battle. Their auras broke through the vast sky, and brilliant crimson and blue collided with each other. However, it was obvious that Zhou Fengzuan was at a disadvantage because he had been injured according to Dustless's plan. His strength was not as good as Zhong Xiang Rights for the time being. After all, Zhou Fengzuan was still injured. Tell me, why do you want to go to war with the king of Red's clan? Wu Chen looked into Fu Jian's eyes and questioned. He was not angry. Why should I tell you? Who do you think you are? Fujiki Aku asked angrily. He was very unhappy with Dustless. Who does this guy think he is? How dare he speak to me in such a commanding tone? Oh, you have a bad temper? Dustless suddenly narrowed his eyes, radiating a dangerous light. Don't force me to do it. I will force you to do it. It would have been better if Dustless had not said that. The moment his voice fell, Fujiki Aku was immediately angered. Perhaps in his opinion, Dustless's words were naked humiliation and contempt. Do I need to be beaten up? Seeing Fujiki Aku's ferocious face, Dustless was speechless. At the same time, he gently tapped the ground with the tip of his foot and flashed out. Go to hell. The blue sword light swept out and disappeared in the blink of an eye. It rushed out and swept to Dustless's side in an instant. Crack. The light penetrated his body, and a shocking crack appeared on his abdomen. However, this could not stop Dustless from pouncing on Fujiki Aku with an unstoppable flash. Monster, monster. Hata Misato opened her mouth. If she was attacked like that, she would have died instantly. On the other hand, Dustless didn't even make a sound. It was as if Fujiki Aku was attacking someone else. Damn it, monster. Fujiki Aku was also very depressed. He was helpless against Dustless's heaven-defying ability. Looking at the light flying toward him, he could only silently watch. The enemy was right in front of him, but he was just a mass of air without a physical body. He couldn't attack at all. Bang! With a karate chop, Dustless knocked out the unwilling Fujiki Aku. Immediately after, Dustless began to read his memories. Since this guy didn't want to confess, he could only use force. So that's how it is, Colorless King's strength is average, but he can play tricks. After reading Fujiki Aku's memories, Dustless was relieved and soon sneered. Since you want to play, I will play with you to the end. Rolling his eyes, Dustless quickly thought of a plan to deal with him. P.S. 3,000 flowers plus updates, 3,000 rewards plus updates, 1,000 comments plus updates, 500 automatic subscriptions plus updates. Chapter 23:17. Is there any way to stop Mr. Monarch and the Ancestral Right Division? While Dustless was pondering, Hadamiko came over with a worried face. She looked up and saw 2 swords of Damocles floating in the blue sky. One of them was from the Ancestral Right Division, and the other was from Mr. Monarch Zhou Fengzuan. The body of the sword was broken, and it looked like it could be dismembered at any time. The Ancestral Right Division is here for the little girl, Anna. Where is she? Bring her to see me. Dustless looked at Hadamiko and said calmly. For Anna. Hearing this, Hadamiko was stunned and looked at Dustless suspiciously. The Ancestral Right Division has no grudge with Anna. It's strange that they are here for her. Hadamiko didn't think that Fatal Anna would offend the Ancestral Right Division. Even if she did, they would let bygones be bygones. Don't waste time. There are some things that can't be explained clearly to a hothead like you. Just do what I tell you to do. Bring her to me. Don't talk nonsense. Dustless impatiently scolded. You call me a hothead? Hata Miko's mouth twitched. She was angry, but she didn't dare to say anything. If other people dared to say that to her, she would have beaten them up. But Dustless was an exception. She absolutely couldn't afford to offend him. I'll go find Anna. Wait a moment. Hata Miko hurriedly left. It seemed that she was going to find Anna. The Ancestral Right Division is also a fool. He knew that it was a plot of the King of Colorless, but he still stepped into the trap. TSK. It seems that Danishima surely is very important to him. He is also infatuated. Dustless sighed to himself. The King of Colorless captured Danishima surely alive and threatened to kill her if the Ancestral Right Division didn't kill Anna. His purpose was very obvious. It was to provoke a war between the two kings. When both of them were injured, the King of Colorless would come out to clean up the mess. The Ancestral Statue Rights Division clearly knew that this was a trap, yet he still chose to step into it. It was obvious that this girl called Danjima Shiri meant a lot to him. No wonder he came looking for me so aggressively. He probably thought that I was the one who captured Danjima Shiri. Dustless rolled his eyes, and two figures suddenly appeared in his vision. Naturally, they were Hatamiwa and Channa. Bad guy, you're still in the mood to watch the show? Hurry and stop them. The Venerable One was injured before, and his strength is inferior to the King of Blacks. This is all you're doing. Anna's anxious voice resounded in Dustless's ears. Looking carefully, this little girl was actually covered in blood. Are you hurt? Hearing this, Dustless frowned slightly and looked at Sunming Anna carefully. Although it was not fatal, it was a fact that she was injured. Her cute face was also covered with a layer of dirt. Was it done by the Ancestral Right Department? Dustless guessed, but his tone was very certain. Sunming Anna's crystal eyes looked at Dustless without moving. She didn't say a word, but in the end, she just nodded gently, obviously admitting to it. No wonder Venerable Zhou Fengzuan was so desperate. Dustless was relieved. Venerable Zhou, who was fighting with the Ancestral Right Department in the distance, seemed to have gone crazy. His body was raging with flames, and the area within a few hundred meters was scorched black. Even steel would melt instantly. Sunming Anna was injured, and this had deeply infuriated Venerable Zhou. In this way, both sides would not rest until one of them was dead. Hurry and stop them. Sunming Anna's face was full of worry. She looked up and saw that Venerable Zhou's sword of Damocles was getting more and more damaged. It could fall at any time, and the consequences would be unimaginable. It's useless. Even if I stop them, these two have already formed a grudge. There's no way to resolve it. Taking a deep look at Sunming Anna, Dustless said indifferently, the Ancestral Right Department wants your life without distinguishing between right and wrong. You are also Venerable Zhou's person. Now that he has injured you, the two of them are like lightning and fire. There's no need for us to get involved. In the future, when they meet, they will burn each other. Hata Miko was silent and looked at the Ancestral Statue Rights Division with murderous intent. Until now, she still couldn't figure out why the Ancestral Statue Rights Division had suddenly turned hostile and attacked her. She was caught off guard and suffered heavy losses. In fact, not only was Sunming Anna injured, but Kusanagi Izumo was also severely injured and his life was hanging by a thread. Just like Dustless said, whether this was a misunderstanding or not, both sides had already formed a grudge. Moreover, they would definitely not rest until there was a victor. In the future, they were destined to fight to the death. And I have already taken action to stop them. Dustless said leisurely, the Ancestral Right Department wants to use your life to exchange for Danishima Shiri's life. In the end, he is still here for you. As long as you are with me, that guy will soon come to find trouble with me. Come for me? Sunming Anna's pretty face was full of confusion. She didn't understand what was so special about her that made the Ancestral Right Department go to such lengths and even want to fight to the death with Venerable Zhou. Fight to the death. This is all part of the Colorless King's scheme. Dustless sighed. Although that guy's strength was average, his brain was surprisingly smart. He specifically targeted Venerable Zhou and the Ancestral Rite Department's weak spots. Boom! 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 Suddenly, a turbulent energy fluctuation rushed over like a stormy sea. It was unparalleled. Hata Miko and Senming Anna, who were caught off guard, were almost sent flying. He's here. Dustless looked at the sky. The Ancestral Rite Department stepped on the sky as if he could fly. The place he stepped on would form a blue barrier for him to step on. P.S. 3,000 flowers plus updates, 3,000 rewards plus updates, 1,000 comments plus updates, 500 automatic subscriptions plus updates. Chapter 23:18. He's quite arrogant. Seeing the ancestral statue ritual division coming from the sky, Wuchen curled his lips casually. Of course, it was only for a short moment. The next second, it flashed away. Only Haname Anna and Hata Miko, who were closer to Wuchen, realized that something was wrong. It's over, King of Blue is going to be unlucky. The two of them looked at each other in dismay. They could see the same meaning in each other's eyes. What kind of method is this guy going to use to make Channa look bad? I'm really looking forward to it. Hata Mito and Channa looked at Dustless curiously and couldn't help but daydream. Due to Channa's surprise attack on Fei Wulua, they suffered heavy losses, so they didn't have the slightest good impression of King of Blue and Channa. They couldn't wait for Dustless to beat up Channa. Wu Chen was silent, but his eyes focused on Rishi. His eyes also changed greatly. His dark eyes turned into the eternal Mangekyo Sharingan in the shape of a 5-pointed star. Everyone shuddered when they looked at him. His ominous eyes pulsed with scarlet light, as if they could penetrate people's mind. Being stared at by them, people would feel a sense of despair as if they had fallen into hell. Maybe in the past, he didn't show his full strength and was just teasing us. Damn it, how strong is this monster? Both Hata Miko and Channa Anna had complicated feelings in their hearts. If the ancestral statue rights minister had not ambushed Fei Wulua, they could not wait for Wu Chen to be unlucky. It would be best if they could beat him up to vent their anger. But now, it was the opposite. They were cheering for Wu Chen in their hearts, hoping that he would beat the ancestral statue rights minister. People are so wonderful, the change of position is often just a snap of a finger. You still dare to show off in front of me, aren't you forcing me to slap your face? Dustless's smile became more obvious, and the eternal Mangekyo Sharingan kept spinning, like ripples splashing on the calm water surface, and from time to time, a sharp light flashed. What's going on? Channa's heart suddenly jumped, and an unprecedented deep uneasiness spread in his heart. He didn't know why, but for a moment, he felt a little flustered in his heart, as if it was blocked, and he couldn't breathe, and there was a feeling of suffocation. There must be a demon in this abnormal situation. Channa's nerves tightened. It was the first time he felt so inexplicably nervous. Something bad must be happening, he had never felt this before. Could it be him? He suddenly lowered his head and looked at Wu Chen. His expression changed slightly as he realized that Wu Chen was looking at him mockingly, especially those strange eyes. At first glance, his soul trembled, as if he was being stared at by a demon. This guy's ability is strange. He's not a king, but he's even more powerful than a king. Channa secretly reminded himself, and he didn't dare to have the slightest carelessness in front of Dustless. He still hasn't forgotten the scene of being crushed before. Hey! Fall for me, you dare to show off in front of me, you're asking for a beating. Dustless suddenly smiled, and the powerful eye power burst out in an instant. Amaterasu. In the blue sky, a black evil flame swept across without any warning. Of all places, it just had to burn the blue barrier that the Minister of Ceremonies was standing on. It almost evaporated in an instant. The temperature of Amaterasu is too terrifying, especially Dustless's control of the eternal Mangekyo Sharingan has reached an incredible level, and all kinds of ninjutsu have become magical. Puff! The azure blue barrier was evaporated, and the Ancestral Statue Rights Division who was stepping on Heir was also unlucky. After losing his support point, he missed a step and fell from the sky, landing on his back. Ha 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 ha. Serves you right. The scene was stunned for a moment, and then it was followed by earth-shattering laughter. Seeing this scene, all the members of Fei Wulua could not help but laugh. The arrogance of the Ancestral Statue Rights Department was still vivid in everyone's mind. It was like a king sent down by the heavens, walking towards Wu Chen in the air. But now, it had been tricked, and its face had been completely swept away. You bastard. You did it, right? Channa stood up from the ground, his face was blue, and his whole body was trembling with anger. This guy is too hateful. So what if it's me? So what if it's not me? If I say it's not me, will you leave? Dustless said slowly, don't think that you can be arrogant just because you defeated Zhou Fengzuan. That guy's strength is actually weak, and he was beaten by me before. You can defeat him just because he hasn't recovered his strength. No wonder, the doubts in Channa's heart were relieved. No wonder in the previous battle, Zhou Fengzuan's strength was not as good as before. It's because this guy tricked Zhou Fengzuan in advance. Phew, the ancestral statue priest stood up and exhaled. He looked at Sinming Anna and said to Dustless, this is a feud between the King of Red and the King of Blue. It seems to have nothing to do with you. I have big hands, and I like to meddle in other people's business, okay? Dustless said with disdain, also, I want to ask, if it's any of your business that I joined in? It's none of your business. You. Channa's face changed. He was already humble enough, but this guy didn't know how to treat a guest at all, and didn't take him seriously at all. Scram. Dustless pointed at Channa, his tone firm, I like this girl, I'll take care of her, go back to where you came from. That won't do. Channa shook his head decisively. The colorless king had threatened him that if he didn't kill Channa, Danjima Shiri's head would roll. He understood the principle of choosing the lesser of two evils, so he could only sacrifice one of them, Channa. Are you sure you want to be my enemy? Channa's face was green, and his face was like the bottom of a pot. If you're itching for a beating, I don't mind helping you loosen your bones. Dustless said with a smile, expressing his attitude with one sentence. P.S. 3,000 fresh flowers plus updates, 3,000 rewards plus updates, 1,000 comments plus updates, 500 automatic subscriptions plus updates. Chapter 23:19. Helping the King of Blue loosen his bones? This guy is too arrogant. Does he think the Ancestral Right Division is a small sheep? Humph, even if he's a small sheep, he'll fail miserably if he lets his guard down. Too arrogant. Everyone stared at Dustless in shock. Their eyes bulged out. This guy is too crazy. He actually dared to look down on the King of Blue. Even a normal person would be furious if they were looked down on by Dustless, let alone a king. However, the King of Blue's reply made everyone's jaws drop. Do you really want to fight to the death? The Ancestral Right Division suppressed his anger. As long as you're willing to leave, I'll definitely pay you a visit. At this point, the Ancestral Right Division was already very sincere. At least in the eyes of others, it was very sincere. It was definitely a miracle that a king could talk to Dustless so humbly. However, some people were just stubborn and didn't know what was good for them. Why don't you understand? There are some words that I don't want to repeat for the second time. This is the last time I'll say it. This girl. Pointing at Anna, Wu Chen said flatly, I like her. I'll take care of her. Although it was just a few words, the meaning was obvious. He was going to go against the Ancestral Right Division to protect Anna. I have no intention of being your enemy, but since you're forcing me, I won't hold back. The Ancestral Right Division's eyes darkened as he grabbed his sword tightly. Stupid. Do you think that the King of Colorless will let Danjima Shiri go if you kill this girl? Dustless asked in disappointment. Don't have any unrealistic and childish fantasies. Whether it's true or not, there's no turning back. If I refuse Shiri's life, I'll at least have a glimmer of hope if I take Anna's head. The ancestral right division's face was resolute. With a clang, he unsheathed his sword. Under the reflection of the sunlight, the blade was sharp and piercing to the eyes. If we're not on the same page, then let's do it. Dustless didn't want to waste any more words and stood in front of Anna. Swish. 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 Seeing this, the ancestral statue ritual division didn't waste any more words. He suddenly waved his hand and a cyan sword light swept out. The sword was like thunder, faintly having an unstoppable and invincible momentum. It directly pounced on Dustless, wanting to destroy him and Sinming Anna together. This kid is crazy enough. Dustless muttered to himself. At the same time, he casually formed a hand seal, immortal technique, bright god gate. Swish. 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 Suddenly, an ear-piercing roar came from the sky. Looking up, the sky suddenly darkened. A large number of red logs fell from the sky, densely covering the blue sky. Boom boom boom. Caw caw caw, in the instant it fell, the earth trembled non-stop. In merely the blink of an eye, that unparalleled sword chi disappeared without a trace. It had been disintegrated in the blink of an eye. So strong. Many people swallowed their saliva when they saw this. They couldn't help but be stunned. The King of Blue's ultimate move was so weak. It was so easily crushed that not even a speck of dust was left behind. It's this strange ability again. Seeing this, the rights minister's mouth twitched violently. He was depressed and almost cursed out loud. This was the first time he had encountered such a strange ability. He looked at Dustless with a gloomy expression. Such a powerful ability, how could he still be an outsider? He was many times stronger than the king. This was simply cheating. I don't believe it. Shoo shoo shoo. The Minister of Rights, who did not believe in heresy, once again raised his sword and slashed down. Several slashes flew out in succession, and the blue light wreaked havoc in the sky, causing many people to lose their hearing. Even if they were hundreds of meters away, they could still feel the biting cold sword intent. If they rashly approached, they would probably be instantly killed by the slashes that spread out in all directions. This was the meaning of the saying, when immortals fight, mortals suffer. In a fight between two top experts, others would not be able to intervene. If they were to recklessly approach, they would be doomed eternally. Boom boom boom. The violent slashes all landed on the bright god gate, causing a huge tremor. Under the ferocious attack, the ground shook in an instant, and a large amount of dust flew up. Can we destroy those logs now? Many people guessed. After all, he was the king. There was no doubt about his strength. If he failed the first time, it was impossible for him to fail the second time. Shoo shoo shoo. At this moment, a huge gust of wind suddenly raged from afar, blowing the dust to the horizon. The scene that was revealed made everyone's expression change drastically. Safe and sound? Looking up, they saw groups of red logs on the ground. Under the crazy attacks of the rights minister, they were completely fine. There wasn't even a scratch. Is there such a hard log in this world? Not to mention the others, even the knowledgeable Hadamiko was stunned. She stared at the group of red logs, all of them were brand new, without the slightest sign of damage. As a senior cadre of Veda Wulua, Hadamiko was also a confidant of Zhou Fengzuan. She also had a vague idea of the strength of the rights minister. He was at the same level as her king, but he couldn't even destroy this group of logs. She was afraid that Zhou Fengzuan would have the same result. After all, it's a ninjutsu that can suppress the jubi for a short time. You destroyed it with just 2 slashes. How can I endure it? Dustless said lazily. His indifferent tone seemed to have expected such an outcome. Damn, how can an outsider be so strong? The old face of the rights minister collapsed. A large number of red logs in front of him were like an insurmountable natural barrier, blocking his ambition. Even if Anna was close, he couldn't cross it. He could only watch helplessly. P.S. 3,000 flowers plus more, 3,000 rewards plus more, 1,000 comments plus more, 500 automatic subscriptions plus more. Chapter 23:20. Outsider? Upon hearing this title, Dustless denied it and replied, "All this while, I have never said that I am an outsider. That is all your wishful thinking." Hearing this, everyone fell silent. This was indeed the case. Dustless had never said that he was an outsider. Thinking that he was an outsider was just some people's wishful thinking. There was no truth to it at all. Dustless himself had never admitted it. Get lost, Ancestral Statue Rights Secretary. Even if you invite the Heavenly Emperor, it is useless. You have to be obedient in front of me. Your king is just a tool for me to pass the time. Dustless chased him away impatiently, not caring about the Ancestral Statue Rights Secretary's livid face. In Dustless's heart, he had already labeled this guy as an idiot. Even Zhou Fengzuan was smarter than him. He knew that this was a trap set by the King of Colorless, but he still jumped in without hesitation. If he was not an idiot, then what was? "You arrogant bastard, watch your tone. I'm the king." The last sentence, "I'm the king," was practically roared out by the Ancestral Statue Rights Division. The one-in-a-million king was treated like a worthless little minion in Dustless's eyes. This deeply irritated the Ancestral Statue Rights Secretary. His sharp tone was like that of a eunuch, swoosh swoosh swoosh. In anger, he raised his sword again. The slash that contained a majestic destructive force tore a long ditch in the ground. Once again, he pounced on the red log in front of him. Boom boom boom. The ground trembled, and a few messy cuts appeared on the ground. However, the red log still stood firm like a mountain that could not be crossed. So strong. The King of Blue is like a clown. Everyone was secretly shocked. The so-called king was completely crushed in front of Dustless. He did not even have the qualifications to make Dustless attack him. From the beginning to the end, he did not even look at the Ancestral Statue Rights Secretary. "Come here and let me see." Suddenly, he hooked his finger at Anna. The girl hesitated for a moment. Seeing that Dustless did not have any hostility, she finally walked over slowly. Boom boom boom. On the other side, the Ancestral Statue Rights Division was still crazily attacking the red logs, but no matter how hard he tried, he could not leave a gap. His strength was too weak. "Idiot, the thing that suppressed the Ten Tails was destroyed by you. You would have dominated the world long ago." Dustless's mouth twitched in disdain. He always felt that this Ancestral Statue ceremonial minister looked mature and steady, but sometimes he was too childish. "What's the matter?" Anna walked to Dustless's side, about 3 to 4 meters away. Her expression was somewhat stiff, as if she was extremely afraid of Dustless. "Why didn't I realize you were so afraid of me before?" Dustless looked at Sinming Anna with interest and then sighed to himself. As expected, only the strong will be respected. Dustless didn't make things difficult for her when he realized that Sinming Anna was so wary of him. He approached the girl with a smile and grabbed her arm. "What do you want?" Hadamito panicked when she saw this. She thought that Dustless was going to harm Sinming Anna and quickly picked up the baseball bat. "You better not. Do you believe that I can slap you to death now?" Dustless didn't give Hadamito a chance to talk nonsense and interrupted her directly. He snorted coldly and said, "I want to destroy all of you. You won't even have bones left after I blow." Hearing this, Hadamito was speechless. It sounded unbelievable that he could destroy them with just a blow, but Dustless's strength at the moment was far beyond everyone's understanding. The Ancestral Statue Rights Division was an example. They were still attacking the red logs with all their strength, but they couldn't even shake them. The capital city was so weak that it could not even withstand a single blow. If it had been them, they would have died without a complete corpse. Cough cough cough, Hadamito was still unwilling to give up. She coughed twice and emphasized seriously, "Your Excellency, you've misunderstood me. I don't mean to attack you. I think Anna is just a child. You guys don't talk nonsense. To put it bluntly, aren't you afraid that I'll harm this little girl? You're still using such a vulgar excuse. Boy, how old are you? Such a childish reason can easily make people doubt your intelligence. Dustless grinned, full of disdain. Hatamito's face turned red when Dustless exposed her thoughts. She wanted to find a hole to hide in. Pfft, seeing this scene, Sinming Anna laughed. She was like a blooming flower, beautiful beyond compare. Even though the young girl was young, her appearance could be considered a rare great beauty. Only this guy can scare you. Hatamito was famous for being a prick in the barking dance club. However, in front of Dustless, she didn't even have the courage to challenge him. Her obedient appearance was like a child who had done something wrong. It's just a skin injury. It's a small problem, Dustless suddenly said. Then, he spread out his right hand and suddenly pressed it on Sinming Anna's arm. Ah! The girl suddenly screamed as she realized that her body had been attacked. She pinched her face and blushed. She opened her mouth and was about to scold Wu Chen for looting a burning house when a strange warm current flowed into her body. Sinming Anna was stunned. Following her gaze, she saw the light of Jadeite Mountain go deep into her body. The abrasions were immediately healed. It's just a small ability. It's not worth mentioning, Dustless said faintly. This is still a small ability? Sinming Anna only felt that her worldview had collapsed. In her view, this was a miracle. However, Dustless said it was so insignificant. That. Can you say, Venerable One? Sinming Anna looked eager, but Dustless had a deep smile on his face. It made people feel as if they were making a deal with the devil. P.S. 3,000 flowers plus updates, 3,000 rewards plus updates, 1,000 comments plus updates, 500 automatic subscriptions plus updates. Chapter 23-21. Dustless stared at the girl's pleading eyes. Her eyes were as deep as the sea, as pitiful as crystals, filled with sparkling light. If not for Dustless' strong will, other people might not have been able to resist and agreed to Taname Anna's request. As for Dustless, the corners of his mouth curved slightly, looking like he was smiling but not smiling, which made Sinming Anna grit her teeth. What did he mean? Was it okay or not? Zhou Fengzuan's external injuries are only a small problem, but that's not the main problem. You should understand what I mean, right? Dustless did not hide and said bluntly, actually, life and death is not up to us. It's his own choice. If he's willing to give up the position of king, he can just live a normal life. You know that's impossible. Taname Anna's bright eyes were covered with a thin layer of mist. Her voice was filled with disappointment. Then I'm sorry. I can't do anything about it. If he wants to die, who can stop him? Dustless shrugged with a helpless expression. Leader, are you okay? At this moment, an anxious voice suddenly came. It was quite pleasant to the ears. The crisp voice was indescribable. But the moment he heard this voice, Dustless's pupils suddenly shrank. This is. His gaze suddenly moved. Suddenly, Danjima Shirley, who was wearing the Scepter 4 uniform, appeared. Dustless frowned and said to himself, wasn't this chick caught by the King of Colorless? Now that she's back, does that mean she escaped from prison? Not bad. Dustless nodded slightly. He was slightly impressed by this big-breasted but brainless woman. Shirley. The gloomy clan statue rights secretary suddenly raised his head and saw the unscathed Vice President Danjima Shirley. His hanging heart calmed down, and a rare smile appeared on his pale face. That guy Colorless King let you go? Not really. Danjima Shirley heard this and gritted her teeth. She said angrily, that guy is very sinister. He used me to threaten the leader. I threatened to commit suicide, so he let me go unhappily. That's simple. At the same time, Dustless suddenly walked over. After hearing Danjima Shirley's reason, he felt strange and couldn't help but frown. The moment he met her eyes, he felt a chill run down his spine. This guy is lying. Almost instantly, Dustless determined that Danji Mashiri was lying. He asked calmly, "You're saying that you used suicide to force King Colorless, and that guy had no choice but to let you go?" Not bad. Dan Shirley nodded and explained, "Of course, there could be other reasons as well. Maybe he found out about the battle between Chief Murakami and Zhou Fengzuan, and his goal was achieved. He felt that I was no longer of any use to him, so he let me go. No matter what, it's good that you're back." Ancestral Rite Master smiled and nodded. He looked at the energetic Dando Shiri and said, "Colorless King, that be asterisk starred, no matter where he goes, I will make him pay. No need to go to the ends of the earth." Dustless suddenly interrupted the Ancestral Rite Master and looked at Danji Mashiri coldly. He said unkindly, "That stupid bug is in this girl's body." What? Wu Chen's words caused a huge commotion. The Ancestral Statue Rights Division stared at Dan Shirley with a dumbfounded expression. "What nonsense are you talking about?" Danji Mashiri's face turned red. She looked at Dustless angrily and said, "Chief, this guy is talking nonsense. I think he's the one who's been possessed by the Colorless King. It's useless to quibble." Dustless replied indifferently. He said with certainty, "I've fought with that bug before. I know his ability. The disgusting smell of that fat bug is still fresh in my mind. There's no evidence." "You're framing me," Danji Mashiri retorted coldly, but she couldn't help but take a few steps back. "Is that so?" Dustless suddenly smiled evilly. "I have a special ability. I can see a person's memory. Since you're innocent, why don't you test it?" "You!" Danji Mashiri's face changed. She shouted angrily, "Dream on. You're not qualified. Whether I'm qualified or not is decided by this thing." Dustless waved his fist. His meaning was clear. He was the strongest, so he had the final say. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Dustless flashed and his body turned into a beam of light. He arrived in front of Danji Mashiri in an instant. His hands were already grabbing her head. "Damn it." Danji Mashiri's face twisted in danger. She looked like a ferocious ghost. Bang bang bang. She took out her gun and fired 2 shots at Dustless. "You bastard." Seeing this, Zhongxiang Rishi was filled with killing intent. His breathing became heavy, and his eyes became bloodshot. Danji Mashiri never used a gun, but King Colorless liked to use a gun. He was the weakest king, and he relied on a gun to defend himself. Kiki. Dustless's nose is sharper than a dog's. He actually remembers my scent. Shouldn't he be flattered? King Colorless smiled coldly. He looked at Dustless with murderous eyes. This bastard had ruined his plan again. "Idiot, who remembers your scent?" "I said that just to scare you." Dustless snorted in disdain. "Don't be so full of yourself. How narcissistic can you be if you want to catch my eye? It's too suspicious that you came back for no reason. There are too many things that don't make sense. King Colorless is ruthless. If you have no value, he should have killed you immediately. So, I was just testing you. I didn't expect you to reveal your flaws." Dustless explained. At the beginning, he felt strange. When he was talking to Danji Mashiri, he felt like he was being watched by a poisonous snake. That was why he paid more attention to her. P.S. 3,000 flowers plus updates, 3,000 gifts plus updates, 1,000 comments plus updates, 500 automatic subscriptions plus updates. Chapter 23-22. "Don't think of running away this time," Dustless said leisurely. His cold face flashed with a rare ferocious expression. "Is that so?" Dan Shirley, who was being controlled by the King of Colorless, sneered and said proudly, "Dustless, I know you are very strong and can kill me with one slap. But, are you going to ignore the life and death of this girl? I'm talking about Dan Shirley. I'm hiding in her body now. How are you going to kill me? Or, kill her together with me? At this point, Dan Shirley looked at the Ancestral Right Division pitifully. Dan Shirley? What does that girl's life and death have to do with me? Dustless didn't hold back and destroyed the king of colorless fantasy. He raised his right hand coldly and a vast amount of spiritual pressure surged out from his body. Wang Su's flash. A golden energy ball was brewing and a destructive halo appeared. Being pointed at by the energy ball, the king of colorless heart almost jumped out of his chest. The fear of death spread throughout his body. How can a coward like this be a king? That Drexton stone plate must be blind to choose such a trash as a king. Dustless almost vomited. He raised his head and saw Dan Shirley, who was being controlled by the king of colorless, trembling in fear. Is this a king? Even an ordinary person wouldn't be so afraid of death. Are you crazy? Are you going to kill this girl together with me? The king of colorless voice was sharp and shrill. It made people shudder. Bastard, stop. A tall figure blocked Dustless and said angrily, Shirley is my subordinate. You don't have the right to kill her. You little brat. Dustless frowned and said indifferently, Ancestral Right Division, why didn't I realize you were so stupid before? This is my business. The Ancestral Right Division snorted and turned to look at Dan Shirley furiously. No, it was more appropriate to say that she was glaring at the king of colorless in her body. Get the hell out of my body right now, or else. The Ancestral Statue Rights Division's old face was contorted, and the fury in his heart was enough to destroy the world. This colorless king was clearly an idiot, but his methods were too sinister and shameless. Hee, do you think I'm an idiot? Seeing the ritual master standing in front of him, King Colorless laughed arrogantly. This body is the safest shelter. If I leave, Dustless will kill me instantly. After witnessing how terrifying Dustless was, the colorless king did not doubt his strength at all. Brat, your strength is trash, but your eyesight is not bad. No wonder you can jump around for so long. Dustless seemed to be praising and mocking at the same time. Immediately after, a ruthless look appeared in his eyes, and the extinguished energy ball in front of his finger shone once again. Ka ka ka. In fact, due to the overwhelming power of the void flash, the surrounding space began to distort and crumble one after another. What are you trying to do? Stop right there. The Ancestral Statue Ceremony Master was shocked. Under this terrifying energy tide, let alone the colorless king, even he felt his legs turn cold. Get lost. Dustless did not even look at the ritual master and said coldly, if you want to die with him, I will be merciful and grant you your wish. This guy is serious. King Colorless panicked, and his gaze was fixed on Dustless. He could feel the bone-chilling killing intent, and it was definitely not a joke. King Colorless focused and did not dare to be careless. As long as Dustless showed any signs of killing him, he would immediately escape from this body. Stop. Seeing the energy ball getting bigger and bigger, the ritual master roared and stared at Dustless. In the end, he drew his sword and charged over. You don't know the meaning of death. Seeing this, Dustless's eyes turned cold, and he suddenly kicked out a blue flash. Light speed kick. A golden ray swept out and pounced on the ritual master. The speed of light was too fast, and the moment the kick was launched, he was about to be swallowed whole. Boom. 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 The flash exploded, setting off a destructive shockwave. The ritual master, who was hit head-on, was like a kite with a broken string as he flew out. Ignorant guy, you don't have any awareness at all. Dustless snorted coldly. Soon after, he looked at King Colorless in a sinister manner. An eyesore, go to hell for me, swish. 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 Before Dustless finished his words, a sharp piercing sound came from the left. A fiery red halo soared into the sky, and the temperature was so hot that no one dared to approach it. This is Zhou Fengzuan. Dustless was stunned and looked at the red afterimage. Although the speed was too fast, and he could only see a blurry afterimage, he saw Zhou Fengzuan with a cold face. He clenched his fist and punched at Danji Mashiri. It seemed like he wanted to kill her. Boom! 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 The violent flaming fists all landed on the girl. Dustless could clearly see that the fists, which were as hot as magma, all landed on Danji Mashiri's chest. She immediately spat out a mouthful of blood. TSK, in the original work, this scene should have been taken by the Silver King, but who would have thought? Sigh, although some things have changed, the trajectory of history still can't be changed. Dustless sighed softly. There was no doubt that Danji Mashiri was severely injured. Of course, if Dustless wanted to save her, this little girl wouldn't have died. Crack. 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 Under this attack, Zhou Fengzuan was also exhausted. The sword of Damocles in the void actually trembled. P.S. 3,000 flowers plus updates, 3,000 rewards plus updates, 1,000 comments plus updates, 500 automatic subscriptions plus updates. Chapter 23. Wu Chen was expressionless and looked at this scene coldly. His deep black eyes were like that of a robot, without any emotion. It gave people a feeling of coldness, as if it had nothing to do with him even if all the people in the world died. Dustless had also made an agreement with Zhou Fengzuan to treat Sinming Anna. Venerable Zhou Fengzuan agreed to be Dustless's prop, and the price was that after he died, he could protect Sinming Anna without any worries and would not be in danger. The initial condition was to protect the entire Vega Dance Club, but Dustless decisively rejected it in the end. There were so many members of the Vega Dance Club. How could he save them one by one? What kind of joke was this? He was not running a charity. Dustless's attitude was unyielding. Helpless, Zhou Fengzuan could only settle for the next best thing. He hoped that he could protect Sinming Anna from harm. As for the others, he could only apologize. He had tried his best. Ah. It's scalding me. A strange voice that was neither yin nor yang was heard. Dustless looked up and saw a white worm. No, the colorless king had revealed its true form and came out of Danji Mashiri's body. Not dead? A ripple appeared in Dustless's calm eyes, as if he was very surprised. Ah! The colorless king howled hysterically. Although it was impossible to tell how much pain he was in, from his twisted face and burning body, it was clear that he was not feeling well. He was in a state worse than death. Ha ha ha, damn it, the final strike actually didn't kill him. Zhou Fengzuan suddenly spat out a mouthful of old blood. His pale face flashed with a thick unwillingness. He fell to the ground with a plop and no longer had the strength to stand up. I hope you can keep your promise and take good care of Anna. Zhou Fengzuan struggled to open his eyes and glanced at the indifferent Dustless before closing his eyes forever. Over the years, the members of Bark Dance Luo had gotten used to being arrogant. They considered everyone beneath them and had offended many people. He couldn't let Dustless protect the entire Bark Dance Luo, so he could only let him ensure Sinming Anna's safety. Honored one. Chanming Anna's nose turned sour. She could no longer hold back the tears in her eyes. She ran to Zhou Fengzuan's corpse and cried bitterly. Humph, damned bastards, just you wait. This time, the plan has failed. In the future, I will definitely destroy all of you. I will chop up your corpses and feed them to the dogs. The colorless king, who was floating in the void, roared. His sharp voice gave people goosebumps, and his deranged words made people feel like he was a madman. However, it didn't take long for tragedy to befall him. Buzz, buzz, buzz. A bright light suddenly appeared in the blue sky. It was gentle and bright, like the sun. Destruction and hope coexisted, giving people a very contradictory feeling. Gulp. Looking up at the sky, the colorless king's throat twitched. This light gave him a feeling of despair. Did you just watch as he ran away? Where am I supposed to put my face? Although Zhou Fengzuan was a lousy actor, he still sacrificed his life to complete this show. However, you are still alive. It doesn't seem right. A large number of golden lights condensed in the void. As the indifferent voice sounded, they all gathered together. Dustless's demon-like face appeared in the pupils of the colorless king. It's this guy. The moment he discovered Dustless, the colorless king's eyes trembled violently. The scenes of the past appeared one by one. Recalling the fear of Dustless, he turned around and ran for his life at his fastest speed without any hesitation. Swish, swish, swish. As the colorless king's speed was too fast, one could only see a fleeting shadow. His body was like a breeze. Dustless was unmoved. His hands were lazily in his pockets. Then, he suddenly raised his right foot. His left eye also changed. The scarlet Rinsei Sharingan made people shudder. Yatsubai Ryasaka. The majestic eye power was activated, and the void in front of him instantly shattered. Dustless went deep into the blue sky. He evaporated, and no one knew where he went. Huff, huff, huff. On the other side, the colorless king continued to run for his life. His body moved at the speed of light, disappearing in an instant. At the same time, he turned around and looked behind him. Seeing that it was calm and no one was chasing after him, he stopped. Ha ha ha, what kind of bullsh** tea is this? The next time we meet, I will take your rotten life. The colorless king laughed maniacally. His tone had a hint of madness. He was filled with fear and hatred toward Dustless. Bang! After acting cool for less than 3 seconds, the void above the colorless king's head collapsed. A huge hole appeared, and a skinny figure rushed out from it. It's you? Damn it, what's going on? How did this bastard appear? Looking at the face looking down at him from above, the colorless king's heart almost jumped out. On the other hand, Dustless's expression was calm. His right leg was still raised and aimed at the colorless king's head. Then, Sir Dustless, why don't? The colorless king suppressed the hatred and fear in his heart and said flatteringly, I am willing to be your, swish, swish, swish. Before he could finish his words, Dustless's body suddenly fell. His raised right leg landed, smashing right into the king of colorless head. Boom, boom, boom. The two of them fell from the sky together. The ground shook, and a deep pit was formed. Smoke and dust rose, and one could vaguely see Dustless's black figure standing there. As for the colorless king, let me go. The colorless king's voice had a sobbing tone. His head was being stepped on by Dustless, and he felt extremely aggrieved. In order to live, he could give up everything, even if he had to work like a cow or a horse. He might be able to make a comeback in the future. However, after he died, everything was over. P.S. 3,000 flowers plus updates, 3,000 rewards plus updates, 1,000 comments plus updates, 500 automatic subscriptions plus updates. Chapter 23-24. It was no wonder that the colorless king wasn't willing to die. After all, being alive meant that he could earn everything. Being alive meant that he could start all over again. A moment of glory and humiliation meant nothing. As the saying went, the one who laughed the best was the absolute king. Therefore, in the face of life and death, the colorless king decisively lowered his head and admitted defeat. However, the tragedy was that Dustless was only stepping on his head and had no intention of letting go. The colorless king had nowhere to vent his anger. He swore in his heart that he would make Dustless suffer a fate worse than death when he made a comeback in the future. That Lord Dustless. The colorless king made an excited expression. I have admired you since a long time ago. If I can be your underling, I'm willing to even lose 50 years of my life. At the end of his sentence, tears miraculously squeezed out from his eyes. However, the sad thing was that Dustless's foot still didn't show any signs of moving away. Lose 50 years of my life? Dustless stared at the colorless king seriously as if he was looking at him in a new light. There's a chance. The colorless king was overjoyed, thinking that Dustless was tempted. He hurriedly continued to flatter, yes, let alone a mere 50 years of lifespan, even if I have to die for you, I won't even blink. You won't blink even if you die for me? I didn't know that I was so noble. Dustless stroked his chin. Shortly after, a wicked smile appeared on his face. How about this? How about you die for me right now? Why, you can't do this. This sentence almost scared the colorless king out of his wits. He quickly screamed, I'm very valuable to you. You have to understand that you're too long-winded. Dustless exerted force on the colorless king's right foot, and the colorless king immediately stopped talking. The colorless king, who was talking, didn't notice that he had bitten his tongue. Blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. Damn it, you better not fall into my hands one day. I will tear you into pieces and throw your corpse under the sun until it rots. The colorless king roared in his heart. The person he hated the most in his life was Dustless. You want to kill me? Dustless squinted his eyes and looked at the colorless king's blood-red eyes with a smile. A hint of interest appeared at the corner of his mouth. No, I wouldn't dare. The colorless king was so scared that he kept denying it. If he angered Dustless, he would definitely be finished. Really? Then why did I feel a killing intent just now? Dustless asked calmly. That one sentence made King Colorless' heart go cold. Then, he muttered to himself, or am I wrong? Could it be an illusion? Yes. It must be an illusion, it must be an illusion. The frightened King Colorless hurriedly agreed. I see. Dustless nodded, then said with a smirk, Come, call me Uncle Dustless. That way, I can be sure if you're loyal to me. Hearing this, the King Colorless was stunned and almost cursed out loud. He cursed in his heart, F***CKU. In this short moment, the King Colorless had to greet Dustless's ancestor before he was satisfied. He said with a trembling voice, No, Uncle Dustless, tisk tsk, grandson, you are so obedient. Dustless nodded in satisfaction. That smirk almost made the King Colorless vomit blood. However, Dustless suddenly changed the topic and said coldly, No matter what you say, I will kill you today. What? Then what was that just now? Were you purposely making fun of me? The King Colorless was furious, and his heart was bleeding. So, he still had to die in the end. No. You can't say that. You at least lived for a few more minutes, right? Dustless said with a magnanimous look. Damn it, you shameless villain, scum. How can there be such a shameless person like you in this world? Hearing this, the King Colorless was so angry that he lost his mind. He kept cursing as if this was the only way to vent the anger in his heart. This bastard is too hateful and shameless. Moreover, I called you uncle, but I only lived for a few more minutes. This is a huge loss. Go to hell. Dustless replied indifferently. Then, light shot out from the bottom of his feet and swallowed the King Colorless in an instant. Light speed kick. Boom. 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 A huge fireball rose in the void and landed with a violent explosion. The King Colorless looked at Dustless with extreme hatred. He still couldn't avoid the ending of disappearing into thin air. It's all settled. Stretching his waist lazily, Dustless suddenly noticed that the sky had darkened. He looked up at the sky and his gaze suddenly froze. That is, the scene that entered his eyes was extremely shocking. A large amount of dust fell from the sky, and there were particles everywhere. It was as if a sandstorm had suddenly occurred. However, this wasn't the most horrifying thing. Is that Zhou Fengzuan's sword of Damocles? It's going to start falling. Dustless mumbled to himself. He looked up and saw a broken sword falling slowly from the void. If this thing falls, the consequences will be unimaginable. Dustless mumbled and suddenly appeared in front of Zhou Fengzuan's corpse. There was also Ming Anna, who was crying helplessly. Let's go. Dustless spoke coldly, his tone emotionless. Go? Ming Anna turned her head and looked at Dustless like a zombie. She pointed at the falling sword and said in despair, "It's good that it's falling. We can die together with Fengzuan." "Is that so? But I can only apologize. I don't intend to die here, so I can only destroy it." Looking up at the sky, Dustless's lips curled up slightly. His smile was filled with contempt and mockery. That falling sword was like a clown that wasn't worth mentioning. It was hard to look at. P.S. 3,000 flowers plus updates, 3,000 rewards plus updates, 1,000 comments plus updates, 500 automatic subscriptions plus updates. Chapter 23-25. Asking Dustless to be buried with Zhou Fengzuan? Who does he think he is? You're too arrogant. Dustless was full of ridicule, but he didn't want to argue with her because Cunming Anna had just suffered a blow. No matter how powerful Zhou Fengzuan was in the past, he was already dead. No matter how powerful Zhou Fengzuan was in the past, he was just a king. No matter how supreme Zhou Fengzuan's identity was, he was still a human. Asking Dustless to be buried with him, is he worthy? Of course, Dustless definitely wouldn't say these words. No matter what, Cunming Anna's most beloved person had left her, it wasn't right to provoke her at this time. Moreover, Zhou Fengzuan had asked Dustless to take care of this brat. This kind of scrap metal, I just need to blow it. Staring at the slowly falling sword of Damocles, Dustless's face revealed a hint of contempt. Under Cunming Anna's gaze, a monstrous aura erupted. Boom boom boom. An invincible aura that could crush the boundless horizon erupted like a volcanic eruption. It was insufferably arrogant and unstoppable. The surface of the earth exploded with a bang. Gusts of violent wind shot out, and everything within a radius of several hundred meters was razed to the ground. A terrifying golden spiritual pressure whizzed out and rushed to the depths of the horizon. Even the white clouds were evaporated. What is this thing? Cunming Anna stared blankly at the blue. No, the sky that had now turned golden. Because Dustless's Ryatsu was too terrifying, the moment it erupted, it all gathered in the sky, forming a boundless energy tide that covered the vast sky. Ka ka ka. The slowly falling sword of Damocles was also affected by the aura. The trend of collapse was even more obvious. The originally connected sword was actually shattered by the Ryatsu. The huge sword was torn apart and turned into countless fragments. What kind of ability is this? He didn't even make a move and directly shattered the sword of Damocles? Cunming Anna was at a loss. Her cute little face was shocked numb, so much so that when she said this sentence, she was still in a daze. You're mistaken about one thing. This isn't an ability, and don't compare me to those kings. Dustless lazily opened his mouth and said, "It's not that I'm looking down on those kings, but their abilities all come from the Drexton stone plate. To put it bluntly, they're all external forces. The strength I've displayed has nothing to do with that thing, it's all my own strength. The difference is too great." At the same time, the fragments of the sword of Damocles that had been shattered by the spiritual pressure disappeared one after another. The sky started to clear up gradually, and a crisis was thus averted. "I promised Zhou Fengzuan to guarantee your safety. This is that guy's only wish. Come with me." Without waiting for Cunming Anna to agree, Dustless pulled her hand and left. Die. The moment he turned around, a ruthless cold light suddenly attacked. Of course, it was not targeted at Dustless. The sharp cold light wanted to tear apart Cunming Anna. Kensusanu. Chakra erupted from Dustless's body and shrunk into a huge skeleton that surrounded Dustless and Cunming Anna tightly. Boom. 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 The slash that was strong enough to cut apart a building landed on Kensusanu's body. The huge skeleton only trembled slightly, and a lot of smoke splashed out. Then, there was no reaction. Kensusanu didn't even have a crack. She was safe and sound, and it was difficult to break through. Ancestral statue ritual division. Dustless looked up and stared at the King of Blue, who was filled with murderous intent. He frowned and said, "The real culprit is already dead." Why did you attack this girl? The culprit is also the king of colorless. It has nothing to do with her. But the person who killed Shirley is Zhou Fengzuan. The ancestral statue ritual division trembled in anger and roared, Shirley is innocent, but Zhou Fengzuan killed her. I can't forgive him. But Zhou Fengzuan is already dead, Dustless said. Let's put down some hatred. Hee hee. That's not important. The ancestral statue ritual division laughed sinisterly. He killed the most important person to me. Then I'll use the same method and kill the little girl next to you. The ancestral statue ritual division looked at Sinming Anna with murderous intent. Her eyes were red, and she had the illusion that she was haunted by evil spirits. That won't do. I promised that guy to protect this child's safety. Dustless refused and said calmly, the dead can't come back to life. Go and give that woman a proper burial. With that, Dustless removed Kinsusunu and took Sinming Anna's little hand to leave. Who allowed you to leave? Give me your rotten life. A hateful voice came from above. Dustless looked up slightly and saw a black shadow descending from the sky. The cold tip of the sword was aimed at Dustless's head. I gave you face, but you didn't want it. Fu Jian Yuegu, you also want to be a stone blocking the road? Do you deserve it? You can't blame me if you want to die. Dustless's mouth curled into a bloodthirsty smile. He opened his mouth and said softly, Wang Kai Bao. Buzz buzz buzz. A large number of ripples splashed in the void, and dense holes appeared. Then, countless divine weapons shot out from the holes. Swoosh swoosh swoosh. Hundreds of dangerous weapons pierced towards Fuji Yuegu mercilessly. Puchi. 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 When falling from the sky, it was difficult to control the body. Even if Fu Jian Yuegu wanted to dodge, it was difficult to deal with it. In an instant, he was pierced into a hornet's nest. His thin body was pierced with hundreds of weapons. It was a horrible sight. Bang! Fu Jian Yuegu's body slammed heavily on the ground. It was a bloody mess. One could imagine what it was like to be pierced by hundreds of weapons. It was definitely the cruelest torture in the world. P.S. 3,000 flowers plus updates, 3,000 rewards plus updates, 1,000 comments plus updates, 500 automatic subscriptions plus updates. Chapter 23-26. You deserve to die. Provoking me 3 or 4 times, this is what you deserve. Dustless's face was cold. He didn't have the slightest bit of pity for the tragic death of Fu Jianyuan Bigu. He didn't even look at it. It was as if the one who was killed was not a human, but a beast that had nothing to do with Dustless, this guy. Dustless was as calm as a breeze, but some people were furious. The sharp eyes of the ancestral statue ceremony officer locked onto Dustless. Every time he opened his mouth to speak, blood would flow out from the corner of his mouth, as if he was biting his tongue to speak. What advice do you have? Realizing that he was locked onto by a strong killing intent, Dustless asked indifferently, if you want to take revenge for an idiot like Fu Jianyuan Bigu, don't come out, or I will look down on you. He is my subordinate. The voice of the ancestral statue ceremony officer was hoarse, and his hair had turned white in an instant. It was enough to see how big of a blow today was to him. I know he is your subordinate. Wu Chen nodded slightly and said calmly, but people will die eventually. If I die for you, maybe that guy will laugh so hard that he can't sleep when he goes to hell. In your eyes, what is a human life? The ancestral statue ceremony officer was angry and roared at the top of his voice. It's very simple. In the face of the roaring ancestral right division, Dustless's expression was calm. When I'm interested, a person's life is worth a lot of money. When I'm not interested in him, then he's worthless. A few minutes later, Dustless left with Sinming Anna. He was as comfortable as he could be, and no one dared to stop him. From today onwards, Dustless would rise unstoppably, and no one would dare to provoke him. In the future, you will temporarily follow me. When you're tired of it and want to leave, I will not stop you. Dustless's expression was calm as he looked into Anna's big eyes and said, as for now, it's impossible for you to leave. That ancestral right division wants your life at all times. Will the others be in danger? Ming Anna looked at Dustless nervously. She had completely ignored Dustless's words. Little girl, you really make people worry. You can't even protect your own life. Is it important to you what happens to others? Dustless comforted her softly. Humans, there are many things in life that don't go your way. There are some things that you can't solve. You can only look on the bright side. However, Dustless suddenly changed the topic. If the members of Vega Willow are willing to disband this organization and leave this city, I don't think anyone will make things difficult for them. However, if they continue to stay here, Dustless dragged out his words. His meaning was self-evident. What will happen if we continue to stay here? Ming Anna stared at Dustless with her big watery eyes and held her small hands nervously. Do you still need to ask me? Dustless rolled his eyes and said with great certainty, then this hatred will naturally shift, and Hata Miwa and Kusanagi Izumo will be in danger. I'm going to inform them. Hearing this, Ming Anna decisively left. Dustless knew that she was probably going to inform Hata Miwa and the others. Stop right there. The young girl hadn't even taken 2 steps when Wu Chen was like a natural barrier, blocking in front of her. Who let you leave without my permission? Dustless directly grabbed Ming Anna and forcibly took her away. Let go of me, you can't restrict my freedom. Ming Anna cried and made a fuss. She even shouted that Dustless was a human trafficker. Many passers-by picked up their phones and called the police. However, from the beginning to the end, Ming Anna still couldn't get away. She was forcibly dragged away by Dustless. In Dustless and the cat's villa, the jealous cat was unhappy when she found that he had brought back another beautiful girl. She bared her teeth at Dustless and even bared her fangs and claws, like a jealous tigress. However, the tragedy was that no matter how much she complained, Dustless chose to ignore it one by one. He didn't even look at her. After spending some time with the cat, Dustless also knew this guy's temperament. Sometimes, the more he tried to enlighten her, the more she would make a fuss. If he just ignored her, she would stop by herself. If you have the ability, keep an eye on me. It's best if you take me with you even to the toilet and sleep. Ming Anna looked at Dustless fiercely. This guy was really bad and had no human feelings at all. Take you with me to the toilet and sleep? Dustless's expression changed slightly, and a strange look appeared on his indifferent face. Are you taking advantage of me? Little brat, how old are you? Your mind is already so dirty. You don't talk nonsense. Who is dirty? Hearing this, Ming Anna's pretty face was covered with a morbid blush. She quickly explained, who would be blind enough to like a rotten person like you? Don't be so self-righteous. Then I'm sorry to disappoint you. The number of people who like me is enough to line up the whole world. Dustless said with extreme narcissism. His tone was calm and natural as if he was stating a fact. He was unusually calm. Can you let me go and inform them? Ming Anna walked to Dustless's side and rubbed her white face against Dustless's right hand. It was warm and quite comfortable. She said softly, I promise to come back right away. I won't cause you any trouble, okay? Ming Anna's pitiful look and beautiful eyes could melt ice. It made people unable to refuse. Even the kitten was touched. She actually picked up a kitchen knife and looked at Dustless. She even raised her hand threateningly as if saying that if you don't agree, I will chop you up. P.S. 3,000 fresh flowers plus updates, 3,000 rewards plus updates, 1,000 comments plus updates, 500 automatic subscriptions plus updates. Chapter 23-27. I refuse. Dustless mercilessly rejected Anna after staring at her for a while. His firm tone was as cold as a rock, and it made people shiver. Why? My lord only asked you to ensure my safety, but he didn't ask you to limit my freedom. You are imprisoning an underage girl. It's against the law. Anna said angrily. Her cheeks were puffed up, and it was quite cute. Against the law? Dustless laughed and said in a bored tone, life is too boring. If you want to call the police, feel free. The phone is at the bedside. I won't stop you. You are a blockhead. Anna picked up a pillow and threw it at him. Then, she ran to her room angrily. Is it really appropriate for you to be so heartless? Kat suddenly frowned. She was wearing simple pajamas, and her hot body was exposed. Especially her huge cleavage, it was almost jumping out. There's nothing inappropriate about it. Dustless replied expressionlessly, you can't always rely on other people's help. That group of people needs to be self-reliant. I can save them once, but can I take care of them for a lifetime? But then again. Dustless couldn't help but take a few more glances at Kat. He asked calmly, what do you mean by holding a kitchen knife? Are you planning to stab me? Why would I? Hearing this, the cat blushed and quickly hid the kitchen knife behind her back. You. Forget it, I'm going to sleep. Dustless was too lazy to continue talking nonsense with Kat. After a long time, he might be thought of as a blabbermouth. As for whether Anna could escape or not, there was no need to worry about that. The entire villa was wrapped in a transparent enchantment. She couldn't escape even if she had wings. At the same time, in another place, the skyscrapers pierced through the clouds. Looking from here, the original appearance of the entire city was in sight. There was also a large number of guards protecting it. Lieutenant, long time no see. You are still as energetic as before. At the top of the building, the white-haired boy Azana. No, it would be more appropriate to call him the Silver King. He smiled and reminisced with the Golden King. The person standing next to him was none other than Go Lang. It was undeniable that Adolf K. Weitzman wasn't good at fighting, but at the very least, he was quite good at talking. He managed to trick Go Lang into joining his camp and becoming his ally. Yeah, it's been a long time. The Golden King also nodded calmly and sighed. It was exactly the same as the saying, once you recover your body, it will be 100 years. Then, he took a few deep looks at the Izona society and said in a deep voice, I feel more and more that my strength is falling short of my wish, so, at this point, the Golden King fell silent. He looked at the huge round stone plate in front of him. It was surrounded by a faint light and had many mysterious patterns. It seemed to have come from a distant ancient society. I'll be frank. I'm afraid this is the last time we meet, so I want to give you the Drexton stone plate for safekeeping. Focusing his gaze on the head of the Silver King, the Golden King explained solemnly, only you can keep a good eye on it. First Lieutenant, the Silver King looked at the Golden King with a complicated expression. His eyes became hollow, and he couldn't help but recall the past. When they met in the past, the Golden King was still a tall soldier in a military uniform. Now that they hadn't seen each other for decades, his hair had turned white and countless wrinkles were clearly visible on his cheeks. I also want to safekeep it, but you also know that I don't have the strength that you do. The Silver King was distressed. Not to mention suppressing the power of the Drexton stone plate, even the colorless king was enough to make him flustered and miserable. If it wasn't for Dustless's explanation, he would probably still be hunted down. The power of the Drexton stone plate was extremely strong, and only the Golden King could successfully suppress it. It was also because of his success in suppressing the power of the stone plate that the number of outsiders was kept to a minimum. If it were anyone else, they might not be able to do it. For example, in the original work, after the death of the Golden King, the Black King took over his task of safekeeping the stone plate. Sadly, it was not long before the Green King took it away. Sigh. The Golden King heard this and let out a long sigh. His face was filled with endless desolation and helplessness. At the same time, he couldn't help but complain about the Silver King. After all, he was the origin of all kings. How could he be so useless? Fighting is not my strong suit." As if sensing the dissatisfaction of the Golden King, the Silver King rolled his eyes and complained, "Besides, there are other kings besides me, such as..." Just as he was about to recommend other kings to guard the Drexton stone plate, the Silver King fell silent. Because of the previous battle, the situation among the kings had changed greatly. The Red King, Zhou Fengzuan, died in battle, and so did the Colorless King. Although the Black King, who was lucky enough to survive, escaped death, he also suffered a great blow, and his temperament changed greatly. Who to entrust with such an important thing like the Drexton stone plate became a big problem. Once the powerful power of the stone plate could not be suppressed, more and more outsiders would appear, and Japan would inevitably fall into chaos. How about... The Silver King's eyes suddenly lit up, and the cold face of Dustless appeared in his mind. He smiled and suggested, "If it's that guy, Dustless, he can definitely suppress the power of the Drexton stone plate. No one would dare to have any ideas about him." "What you said makes sense, but that guy doesn't make me feel at ease." The Golden King's old face showed doubt, and he said, "Besides, that guy doesn't seem to be interested in this thing. If I give it to him, it might be thrown away like trash. P.S. 3,000 flowers plus updates, 3,000 rewards plus updates, 1,000 comments plus updates, 500 automatic subscriptions plus updates." You're tuning into the Dreamy Love Stories YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.